it's been confirmed that Daniel Jones essentially won the starting spot for the Indianapolis Colts, taking it from Anthony Richardson. Now, we also heard that, like I said earlier in the episode, Joe Flacco won the starting spot for the Cleveland Browns, but that was kind of anticipated. The real question was who is going to be the backup quarterback, which I think we're still waiting on. But this is such a career blow for Anthony Richardson. Now, let me talk about Anthony Richardson before I expand a little bit. I talked about the fact of, and I questioned when I talked about the AFC South, I questioned when a project was going to be deemed a success or a failure. And that statement was pointed at Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has been a project his entire career, whether you date back to high school, whether you date back to college, whether you date back to the NFL. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Anthony Richardson doesn't have the talent of a high first round pick, which he was. Anthony Richardson has some abilities that make him very appetizing to a drafter, make very appetizing to an NFL team. I understand if you're the Colts why you would draft him as high as they drafted him, because he has talent that some other quarterbacks at elite levels don't have. There are things that he does better than a Patrick Mahomes, that he does better than a Joe Burrow, that he does better than a Lamar Jackson, that he does better than a Josh Allen. Some things, not all. But it would be blasphemous and a downright lie if you put Anthony Richardson in the same category, even in the same sentence as those quarterbacks, because he has other things, a lot more things that bring down his value, that make him more of a project than anything else. And I said, the worst thing that can happen is if Daniel Jones comes in and takes your spot. Because if that happens, I'm not saying, because he's still talented, I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson's career is over. I'm not saying that. He's still one of the younger quarterbacks in the league. I'm not saying that. But what I did say was, if he loses this starting battle to Daniel Jones, barring an injury, I think we are done seeing Anthony Richardson as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Because, again, we're not talking about Kirk Cousins here. If Michael Penix is just bad and he loses his job to Kirk Cousins, I understand. Kirk Cousins, as much as he's a roller coaster, his highs are still mighty high. We're not talking about, a quarterback that has a longevity of greatness that's just at the end of his career. No, we're talking about a person that had one good year, essentially, in Daniel Jones. One. And has been the definition of mid to bad since then. And he came to the team that drafted you and took your starting spot. Mind you, Anthony Richardson is healthy. I know he has a broken pinky, but that's not why he lost his spot. or dislocated pinky. That's not why he lost a spot. He lost a spot because Daniel Jones was better than him in camp, which is such an indictment on a, if I'm not mistaken, Anthony Richardson was drafted third, if I'm not draft pick. Fourth. Anthony Richardson was drafted fourth overall. And you lost your starting spot to Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones can just be god awful. And that's why I said that things can happen. Daniel Jones can just be god awful and they just go back to Anthony Richardson. Okay. Daniel Jones can get hurt and they forced to go back to Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson can get traded to a team and that starting quarterback. There's a lot of things that can happen that can get Anthony Richardson back to the starting lineup to as a starting quarterback. So when I said that I think that we've seen the last of Anthony Richardson as a starting quarterback, what I meant was I think gone are the days where it's just an automatic, oh, it's his job to lose. No. At this point of his career, it's his job to win. If he don't win the starting quarterback position, like I don't think there's never it's his to lose. Nah. We've lost that. He lost that when he lost his starting spot to Daniel Jones. Stephen A. Smith said his NFL career took a major hit, and I agree. And I know people said it under my video when I talked about talked about Anthony Richardson, and I've seen it in the ether. They talk about his age because Anthony Richardson is still one of the youngest quarterbacks in the league, surprisingly. He's 23 years old. To put that into perspective, that is younger than Bryce Young. That's younger than Michael Penix. And that's also 3 days. He's 3 days older. He's 3 days older than Cam Ward. So yes, there's still youth there, which is another reason why I don't think his career is over. But you were drafted in 2023? You were drafted in 2023, which means you've essentially been in this system because you've had Shane Steichen as your coach. You've been in this system for essentially 3 years now. And there are still things that he's doing that people would call rookie mistakes. So the fact that you're still considered a project and you're still making rookie mistakes, like missing reads that essentially got you hurt in a preseason game, and again, you can even go back to college or high school. Anthony Richardson has never completed over 50% of his passes. If you want to round up, because I do round up, you can say 51. So just once. This can either, it's tough because, again, Anthony Richardson up to this point was viewed, even though all the flaws that he had, all the, stuff that he had, he was still viewed as a starting quarterback. That is now not the case. And ask anyone. Ask someone like Jameis Winston. Ask someone like Teddy Bridgewater. Ask someone like Tyrod Taylor. Once you lose your starting spot, I'm not saying it is impossible, but it's damn near impossible to get it back without something catastrophic happening. And if you do get it back, it's still very hard to keep. So we'll see what happens with Anthony Richardson, but I do know that at the start of the season, he will be the backup quarterback at 23. The backup quarterback for the Colts. Again, incredibly talented, and that's why I don't think his career is essentially over. He has talent, God-given talent. But it's just the other stuff that clearly isn't lining up with the talent. So, well, I wish the best for him, but we'll see. Oh, and last thing I want to say on that, because people, I do remember people in my comments was talking about he didn't get a chance due to injury. Like, he missed a lot of time due to injury, which I agree with. But I don't think people remember how he got hurt. He got hurt trying to do too much. It's okay to just slide. It's okay to give yourself up. No, every single time he got hurt, it's because he tried to do too much. I'm not saying that he essentially got himself hurt, but he didn't put himself in the best position not to get hurt. I'll tell you that. Which also goes back to decision making. Anthony Richardson's decision making put him in positions where he got hurt. Again, thinking he was Superman, he's not. These defensive players are bigger, stronger, faster than you. And faster than anything you've seen at Florida. And bigger than anything you've seen and better than anything you've seen at Florida. So you think you're about to go head-to-head with a cornerback, with a lineman? It's not going to happen. Or I'll say, unless you... No, it's not going to happen. Which just... I get it. He's not going to be able to get reps if he's hurt, but you can do things to prevent yourself from getting hurt. And when he was in the game, he wasn't completing 50% of his passes.
Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.